Welcome to the Eat Right with Laura podcast. My name is Dr. Laura Rockos, and I'm the owner of Eagle Rock Nutrition, an integrative healthcare practice providing dietary and lifestyle intervention strategy for disease prevention and health maintenance. Today's podcast is going to focus on gut health, the microbiome, and probiotics. My guest today is Jennifer Wolgast, who is a student in my nutrigenomics class at Rutgers, and she's conducting this podcast with me as part of her assignment for a paper that she's written. So I'm going to have her introduce herself. I would like her to tell you about the company that she works at and what she does at that company, in addition to being a student at Rutgers University, taking this nutrigenomics class that's part of the food science department.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Wolgast. I'm a student at Rutgers part-time, and then day-to-day my position is at Probi, which is a probiotics manufacturing company. They're based out of Sweden and have pretty much capabilities to manufacture and grow our own strains, and then do anything up until a fully turnkey product. So we supply all B2B, and it's very focused on clinical studies, gut health, education around gut health. And these are a lot of topics that I'm personally very interested in, and they reflect a lot against what we learn about in class and in other courses that I've taken. So I'm very happy to have the chance to discuss it a little bit further.
So what were your qualifications for getting hired by a company that makes probiotics?
So my background or my undergrad degree is in nutrition and food science from Montclair State University, and when I graduated from Montclair State, I worked at DSM for about 3 years in their sales department. I guess I should have mentioned I'm an account manager at Probi now presently. So I was with DSM for about 3 years, and we were a company that was based around fortification. So again, it was B2B sales, but it was all vitamins, carotenoids, fish oils, different types of products as well. So I was offered the position at Probi, and I thought it was a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about probiotics and gut health, which again, I said I always had a big interest in it myself.
So, and what's the origin of this interest in gut health?
I mean, it's something that affects every single person, and it's something that you kind of have control over yourself, and there's an autonomous factor of it, which I think is really interesting. And what else can you say about other health conditions that you have such a say in?
Right.
It reflects so much. If you take care of your own diet and your own gut health, you'll see an improvement. It's really very rare that you wouldn't see an improvement, and you can't say that about having bad knees or bad joints or something. So
since your company is entirely focused on making probiotics, what's their claim to fame? What makes them such an authority? Is there anybody is there anybody at your company that's well known in the field of microbiome and probiotics?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the company, I guess I'll give you a little bit of background on the company too. It started about 30 years ago. It's all based out of Sweden in Lund, and it's associated with the medical research facility they have there. It's like a medical school program. And this man, his name is Bengt Jepsen, and this is Swedish, so I probably butchered that, but he was isolating human strains of probiotics while he was doing abdominal surgeries, and he noticed that some patients were healing more efficiently than others, and some patients weren't doing as well, and he was kind of hypothesizing around what could be driving this, and he decided to look at the different strains and isolated a strain of Lactobacillus plantarum. So we've patented this strain.
Did that straight correlate with the patients who healed better?
It did.
Oh, that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And since his discovery and the patent and isolation of the strain, there's been about 50 clinical studies that we've done ourselves, along with a ton of other data where we've been, associated with other programs who are doing research, and just meta-analysis around it as well. So we're really excited about this flagship strain, as we like to call it. Yeah. And then we have a full other portfolio of pretty much every other strain you would want for basic probiotic products.
All right. So what is your role in sales of maybe this particular strain and any other products that Probi is developing?
My role is really just to make sure that other companies are aware of all of the all of the resources that we have within our company, because it's not like we just ferment the strains and sell them. We put a lot of work in developing our own formulations. In our clinical studies, we invest a lot of money in clinical studies, so everything has really strong support.
Yeah.
And then we provide guidance on claims too.
Can you tell us about any clinical study in particular that's notable?
In terms of like well recognition.
In terms of a study that showed efficacy upon treatment with a probiotic?
There's been a lot around IBD actually, which is really exciting because it's something that affects a lot of people, and it's different than IBS, which is a more general gathering of symptoms. So for IBD, it's around ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, and basically it's when your body has a very inappropriate inflammatory response. So some of the science that we've done behind it resulted that, especially in animal models, it mitigated a lot of the inflammatory symptoms, and then we've done it in human models as well, where if I can reference my notes here, the results demonstrated that plantarum can attenuate immune-mediated colitis and suggest a potential therapeutic role for this agent in clinical inflammatory bowel diseases.
Are they looking at gene expression to see if there's any changes in gene expression when the bacteria proliferates in the gut?
I don't know that it's necessarily focused on that, but I think it's an area that they're looking into more and realizing the value behind understanding gene expression around it. So.
And do they have any data that says that if you take a probiotic, any probiotic, that it actually survives? Is there any data that shows that a probiotic can survive the digestive tract?
Yeah, absolutely.
There is?
Yeah.
Well, that's really exciting.
It is.
Interesting.
Yeah, especially the plantarum strain too, because it's a lactobacillus, it's a lactic acid producing strain. So with the lactobacillus strains are lactic acid producing, so it aids in carbohydrate metabolism, vitamin production, energy, and even digestion of polyphenols. We have a study on that too, which is really exciting. But they've tracked the actual strain itself and have collected it and seen presence of it in fecal samples. So it's surviving the entire GI tract, which is very interesting.
Know.
Yeah.
Can I get my hands on this strain for some of my Crohn's disease patients?
Absolutely. It's actually in a lot of products on the shelves. There's a couple fortified juices that have it, and then there's specific brands too. So.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah,
That
it's really
great.
exciting.
Is your company publishing any data?
Mm-hmm. The scientific summary that I was just reading from is it's available online, and it's something that we're happy to share. And we're very proud of our work, and it's spoken for itself, where it definitely does support the claims that we're making. So we've got nothing to hide. We're open about it.
So you're teasing out some of the nutrigenetic and nutrigenomic data. Are you looking to see if consumption of these probiotics alters gene expression? But what about the other way around? Are there any dietary, did the CEO or the president or whoever is the inventor, does he have any data that shows that there are certain genetics, are there any genes that correlate with proliferation of bacteria in the gut?
So that I might have to look into a little bit and get back to you, because I am a little bit newer with the company too, so I'm not as familiar with our entire, database of information, whether it be for probiotics themselves or gene expression. So.
Well, getting back to the genes that we know about, the vitamin D receptor, IL-10, NOD2. So does your company have any experiments that relate to those gene products and gut health?
The IL-10, yes.
Which is protective.
Yes, which is a gene that regulates inflammation. So it does mitigate the kind of unnecessary or exaggerated inflammatory response, if you will.
So do you see more IL-10 in people that take this probiotic? Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you see, that's great.
And we do have actually a concept that's immunity focused. So it's, all based around immune response. And when you get the common cold, what it is in your body, the pathology of it is that it's inflammation. It's your body trying to elevate its histamine response to protect yourself. So not only do the probiotics aid in that immune response, but they're also reinforcing the mucin barrier, which is, separates your epithelial cell wall from just your gut cavity or your lumen. So we do have studies that support that it reinforces the mucus lining, and that's your first line of defense. So when you're looking at an immune-focused product, you want to have a good mucus defense, and then you also want to have something that's going to make sure your inflammation response is appropriate. You do need it sometimes.
Yeah, so there are products that are prescribed to regenerate the mucus lining of the digestive tract, but is your company working on any other things that can impact the mucus lining?
I mean, it's not really a specific claim that we make because this is our life. Between you and I, we're obviously very interested in gut health and fairly well versed about it. Myself, fairly, you're expert. But it's not a claim that I think is the most consumer friendly thing in the world right now to say this is going to help your mucus lining.
You can actually say that because there are studies that show that commensal bacteria, whether it's this particular strain or some of the other ones that have been shown to be beneficial, but when the good bacteria proliferate, that promotes the generation of that mucus lining and also the epithelial cells that line the digestive tract. So I just wondered if they actually looked at cellular proliferation in response to probiotic consumption.
Yes, absolutely. We've got a couple of studies on that. I just haven't seen it been mentioned as that's the claim that they're looking to promote.
Right.
So it's an interesting concept, but the mucus lining is very, very beneficial. You want to make sure it's nice and robust. You want to make sure you're not letting any potential pathogens in. And on top of that, then you want to just make sure your immune responses are appropriate. If they're needed, they're needed. If they're not, they shouldn't be going overboard.
Wow, well, this has really been awesome. I just want to end with one question about any interest in looking at epigenetics, like looking at, if proliferation of these helpful bacteria promote some of these chemical changes that turn the genes on and off, like anything in the realm of epigenomics.
I think at this point we're still looking at a lot more preliminary clinicals because if you have one good study that comes out with a favorable response, it's great and you want to promote it. But with something like gut health that is so individual from person to person, I mean, every person's microbiome is like a fingerprint. You can't go off of one study to make a claim like that, and especially if it's not focused looking only at the genes, you don't want to be making crazy claims.
So your company's being very conservative about making claims. I totally get that. But your company has generated a lot of really interesting data that corroborates that this particular probiotic that you're developing correlates with reduced inflammation and improved immune response.
Yeah.
Right? So for people that are listening to this podcast, they are totally going to want to know how they can get their hands on the probiotic. So first of all, you mentioned it 20 minutes ago, so can you just tell me again the name of the strain?
Yes, it's Lactobacillus plantarum is the strain name, and then we have kind of a fingerprint of the strain itself called 299V, which is the patent that we have around it. So you will see it on a package if you go to the store and read the package. It'll say Lactobacillus plantarum or LP299V.
Right, and you said that they're putting it in juices, so any products that are in stores that people shop at regularly?
Yeah, so there's a great one. It actually began and was invented in Sweden out of our labs, and it's called Proviva. And this is the drink that's only available in Sweden, but we were able to make a version of our own for consumer sales in the US, and it's called Good Belly Probiotic Juice. And I've seen it in a ton of stores. It's in Wegmans,
I think I heard of that.
Yeah, and it's great. It's got a really nice flavor, and it's also a fruit-based juice, so it's not the greatest source of polyphenols, but you will get a little bit from it too.
Right. You probably don't remember when we started this semester, we're talking about food labeling. So do you know off the top of your head if there are any, what the label for the product would say? Promotes gut health or reduces inflammation? So
not too much inflammation, because with probiotics, it is a little bit touchy. You can't make probiotics do not They're not like a silver bullet, like they're not going to cure a disease, so you really can't mention disease states, but you can say things like supports gut health, supports digestive wellness.
Is that what the label says?
Yeah.
It does.
And
say
there's
that,
other products that say, can reduce gas and bloating, can reduce abdominal pain, which is a big concern for a lot of people with general gastric issues.
So in the Good Belly juice, do you know how many billions?
I believe it's 10 billion. That's the clinical
number.
serving. Yeah,
that
it is.
Sounds really good. All right, well, Jennifer, I'm going to end the podcast, but I thought that was super informative. Thank you so much. And if anybody would like to go back and listen to this podcast again, you can find it on my website at www.eaglerock.com. That's EGGLROCK.com. And if you'd like to learn a bit more about Eagle Rock Nutrition, you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and like the Instagram pages. So all that information, all there. But thank you, Jennifer Wolgast. That was an excellent presentation on the microbiome, the importance of probiotics, and a great plug for your company, Probi.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.